center of everything, right? And we do charts of people and processes and systems in concentric circles going out from the customer, right? And it would still be a collective hallucination, but it's one that's probably going to be more appropriate for the time we're in now. So the customer's not my job is a cry we hear. So somebody saying we have to be customer centric, it can be a tough sell. So I'll whiz through these slides so you can read them offline. Why do we need to be customer centric? Couldn't we just try better at doing what we're already doing? Yeah, just do more of the same. Well, there's 4 reasons why. It makes money, it reduces costs, it boosts motivation, you know, for every one of us who's working in these environments. And oh, by the way, there's no choice as well. So let's skate through this landscape. So number 1, it makes money. What do we mean by that? How does that actually hang together? So many arguments, as I've already indicated, around customer centricity are soft and fluffy. Right. Yes, we do want to get the right emotions with customer. And yes, we do want people loving our brand, but we're not going to get there if we're not doing the right thing, right? Those emotions, though, that customer happiness come about as a consequence of being able to promise something and deliver it successfully. So managing the expectation, right? It doesn't come about by, you know, you do something wrong and then you go into apologetic mode and you try to bribe the customer with, you know, staying with you. Let's figure out how to get things right. Now, that is a core competence of people who've done things like industrial engineer, who have process mindsets. But what we can do is we can look beyond just looking inside the organization and extend it out to the complete customer experience. And that's a big differentiator for those organizations who really get it. So it makes money. How does it make money? Well, happy customers come back for more. So if we're doing the right thing, you'll get the footfall returning to you. By having a focus on the successful customer outcome, because we understand their needs, anything which isn't contributing to that, why are we doing it anymore? Can't we free up that scarce resource to do more worthy work? That would be sensible, wouldn't it? But it's counterintuitive, because most of the time, our process improvement languages talk about looking at what we're doing and how do we make it run better? How do we get it more efficient and more effective and more productive? Well, nothing wrong with doing that as long as you're doing the right thing. But, you know, oftentimes we might be fixing a mess that doesn't deserve to exist. All right. So we can get to this picture of making money by organizing ourselves around doing the right thing. So whether that's processes, experiences, whatever it is. And some examples here recently about how our industry's changing. So of course, with the advent of 5G, a lot of infrastructure industry, so I'm thinking like of broadcasters and things like that, the carpet will be pulled out from underneath their feet. Well, what's their reaction to it at the moment? It's, well, we've got to make better dishes. Right, we've got to get better technology. We've got to get more signal down the fiber link or whatever. No, that's all going away. So it's not as if the writing isn't on the wall for some of these industries. And I relate back in some of the stories that I tell to Nokia when Apple introduced the iPhone. And in 2007, Nokia were the most profitable telecommunications company on the planet. And then somebody came from nowhere, right? Wasn't even in the industry and literally took the carpet from underneath them. And within a couple of years, Nokia were no more. They disappeared as far as an entity is concerned. Now, why are people in denial about that? Well, it's because they're busy doing the wrong things. So we've got to get the focus shifted to what is the right thing to do. And the right thing to do is to deliver successful customer outcomes. So we could demonstrate that if you focus on customer experience, and here we have some sort of snapshots from Forrester from a few years ago, the value that you're going to create is going to be significantly more than if you just do the same old and get better at doing that. So better CX correlates with a higher revenue growth across major industries. So that's the reason why you do it. It makes money. Now, to some people in CX, I'm like, oh, because one of my kickers is, we've got to get more scientific about this stuff. And they go, no, we don't want more science. We want more feeling and emotion. And then I go back to this thing about if you're not doing the right thing, the emotions you're going to get are going to be the negative ones. We've got to figure out the right thing to do. But we're all motivated by this. I'm working with a charity and I said, you've got to grow your revenues. And they said, no. Money's not nice. It's very, you know, we don't want revenues. We want contributions. So I go, so how scientific are you about the contributions you receive? And they go, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, how do you go about organizing yourself so that you can maximize the contributions that you get from your customers. Oh, we don't call them customers, they're contributors, right? We make contributions. I say, so how do you let the little old lady know, instead of leaving it to the cat's home, they could leave it to you as a charitable foundation? And they go, oh, no, we don't get involved in that, right? Well, they do now. The company I'm actually talking about is the Nature Conservancy. It's they're based out of Arlington near Washington, DC in the US. And they are now the most progressive, most successful charity on the planet. Right. Well, how did they get there? Because they've got the same people in the same buildings. They started to look at the world differently. They started to look at it from that outside in, working backwards perspective. And that shift allowed people to then sort of say, well, why are we still doing this? And why are we still doing that? And of course, they're able to make use of the contributions, because it's not revenue, is it? Contributions in the right sort of way. Another big perspective is it reduces cost. Well, I've already indicated, if you figure out what the customer need is, and we align ourselves to doing it, anything else that you were doing that was around that, you don't need to do anymore. So we can get rid of bureaucracy and red tape. And I refer to this idea of winning the Triple Crown. And the chap who introduced me to this phrase was a guy called Jim Siner, who some of you will remember. He was the sort of head of Gartner for many years in terms of doing research, but his specialism has always been around process management, business process management, and so on. And latterly, over the last few years, he's come into that sort of CX domain. But Jim and I will talk about it. We're as old as each other, and we'll talk about it. It's the same stuff, right? It's just we've extended the scope of it to embrace the complete customer experience. And what do I mean by that? Well, typically, a process in an organization starts when it crosses the threshold. So whether that's a digital threshold or a physical threshold, somebody walks in the store, and it's over when they've got the good or service that they came in to buy, right? So that it's like that. So it might be in the airline industry, it might be buying a ticket to getting your bag off the carousel at the end. Well, people like Southwest Airlines said, no, that's not good enough. Fixing things within that context doesn't understand the customer need. You've got to go to where the need arises, and it isn't over until the need's finished. Now let's fix the context of the customer experience. That's what we call going outside in. It's where you look at where the need arises, and it isn't over until the need's set. So in an airline context, I need to go on a flight, right? And it isn't over till I'm back at home, with a coffee and relaxing, with the family again. So if we could fix things in that context, we don't have to try just fixing them within our own organization. We could actually go out into the experience. So there's lots of examples of that. And one of the links I'll give you later is that you sign up for the pre-publication